Hey, welcome. This is Marnie Swedberg here today with Shannon Anderson from Rensselaer, Indiana. She's one of our Christian women speakers over at womenspeakers.com. Welcome to you, Shannon.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and you have a new book that's coming out this fall called A Deed a Day.
I
And
do.
I'm super excited to get the opportunity to talk to you about that today a little bit, and it kind of a little bit of the backstory behind that, because this book, so you have several other books. How many books do you have?
A dozen.
A dozen books.
Yeah.
And mostly for children.
Right. Yes. Most of them are children's books. I have two that just came out that are actually for teachers. Go the extra mile and be an amazing writing teacher.
Yep. And you are a teacher yourself.
Yes.
Yes. So this new book, though, A Day to Day, it started with you actually wanted to do a project with your own family. So tell us about that.
Yes. So this was many years ago when my girls were younger. And I remember it was in a November. Well, first of all, because I recorded the date that I started doing it, but it was in November. And the significance of that is that it was right before Christmas coming. And, all of the ads on TV were the toys and gadgets they want your kids to be asking you. I want that. Can you give me that and put that on the list? And I remember one day in particular when I was stirring chili. I had the phone in my other hand. The dog was scratching at the door and needed in. And I have my husband walking in with one of our daughters, and I'm trying to get someone to let the dog in, and I'm just feeling very overwhelmed, and everything is just craziness, and just feeling like, gosh, is this what it's all about? And why isn't someone letting the dog in? And, people are seeming a little disappointed that dinner isn't ready on the table. And I just had a heavy heart that night when I went to bed. And I just kind of felt like, this needs to change. Something's not right. And, when you pray for discernment, and when you pray to open the Bible and find just the right thing that you need, it happens. God leads you to what you are seeking. And I found some Bible verses that were just hitting me square in the eye. And I just started praying about what I should do. What could I do that's, beyond just saying, guys, we just need to be less selfish, and we need to make our lives mean more than this grind that we're in. And so for whatever reason, I just thought, like Oprah's gratitude journal, you're writing down what you're thankful for, but I wanted it to be more than just what we're thankful that we're getting, or that what happens to us. I wanted it to be almost the reverse. Like, what would a reverse gratitude journal be? And that would be recording what we're doing for others. And so I went to CVS and I bought this, and it's just a composition journal for a couple bucks. And I wrote Deed Diary on it. Yeah. And I had a family meeting. And I still remember when I called my girls together and my husband, I sat on the floor in front of them and I said, okay, guys, I want to have this little family meeting. And my girls, like I said, were younger. So they're like, oh, fun. What is this? And explaining to them that I had this idea that we could try doing a deed a day. And so I explained what that meant, because good deed, what is that? And we just kind of talked about it being when you're doing something unexpected for someone, just out of kindness, just to make them smile, just, to try to make their day a little brighter. And so when I told them about that, I said, and I think to keep ourselves accountable, we'll write them in here each night. And so it became this awesome dinner conversation. I mean, if you can imagine like sitting down to dinner together and then having this conversation, I would pull out the deed diary and I would say, okay, Maddie, what did you do for someone today? Emily, what did you do? Matt, what did you do? And here's what I did. And it didn't have to be something that cost money. It could just be, giving a sincere compliment, or, the girls could draw a picture or write a note of appreciation to someone, just something small. Now, there were some days that we did buy something to give to someone, flowers. Or one day we went to the bakery, I remember, and our bakery had these smiley face cookies. They're just like rainbow frosting and a big smiley face. And so we bought a dozen of them and put them in separate bags. And then I divided them up with the girls and I said, okay, here are yours. Now give them to
Yep.
someone and tell them to have a nice day. And I remember as we were pulling up in front of my school, Maddie asked if we could stop the van, and she jumped out to give one to the crossing guard and just handed it to him and said, have a nice day. And so just an unexpected little thing like that can really brighten someone's day, just to know that they're thought of and cared about. And the thing about this was, as we dug a little deeper in our own souls as we were doing these things, we're not only strengthening as a family and bonding through, what we're doing and, enjoying the reactions and enjoying, like, what I really loved was I knew the experiment was working when the girls started saying things the night before about what they wanted to do for someone next day. That's when you know that the selfishness is becoming selflessness. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's right. And you were working toward helping to see the motivations behind what you were doing.
Yes. And that was the most meaningful part of it was when we started digging into, the biggest commandment we're given in the Bible, is to love God with all our heart and soul and mind. But then equally important, Jesus says, is to also love your neighbor. And so are we doing that? We're told over and over in the Bible, be kind to one another. And one of the verses that I love is, well, of course, I'm sure everyone's heard it's more blessed to give and than receive. And that's a big one for me at Christmas. I'm the one that's sitting there. Oh, I can't wait to see, when they open that, I spent some time figuring out what they would really love. But one of my favorite ones is that God has given each of us a spiritual gift and that we should use that to serve other people. And so think about what those things are that you're good at doing for others, or that that God has given you, whether it's your voice, like my daughter can sing, she's in the praise band. That is a gift that she's sharing with others and blessing others with. And for me, I feel like it's teaching. I love teaching, whether it's teaching through writing a book and someone can read and learn, or whether it's teaching in person or at a women's event or something. But I feel like we need to use our gifts. But the biggest thing that I wanted the girls to get from this, and I feel like they did, is that when we're doing these things, when we're obeying God's command to love others, it's shining a light for Him. And so what it's doing is it's showing others who's in your heart and showing that the truth is in you. And they notice that. And you don't even have to say it, but it's a great conversation starter. If someone asks, well, why would you even do that? And you could say, I just felt led to do it. Or when I was praying this morning, God put it on my heart that you needed this text or that you needed this card or whatever it is. It's a great conversation starter. It can strengthen someone else's faith, but it also strengthened all of our faith to be able to do this and understand the meaning behind it, and to just make it be, more than just doing a deed a day. That was awesome. And we did that for a whole year. It's not that we stopped doing a deed a day for other people, but as far as recording it, we stopped doing it in that way, like writing it down each day. But I've continued it on. I've done it through my classroom. I've done it through, I started a kindness club this year at school. I started a Facebook group, A Deed a Day, where we can share our blessings online. And so just trying to continue to encourage others to do that. And why we do that is something that's been put on my heart, that I just want to shine that light.
You did this several years ago. Are you seeing any, in your kids especially, do you see any indicators that it had a long-lasting effect on them?
For sure. One of the things that happened that was really special with Maddie in particular when she was younger is both of the girls and all of us, anyone that does this, I think you wake up in the morning scanning your environment for what you could do and thinking about what you could do instead of what the day's going to bring for you.
Changes, right.
Yeah. And so as she has this scanner on and this radar on for what can I do for someone, where is there a need, she noticed some of the kids at our school I don't know the conversation that started it, but she came home one day saying, so-and-so doesn't know about Jesus. And she says she's never been to church. And she was just flabbergasted that anyone would not know, because it's a public school. But, she grew up going to church and knowing about Jesus and having a Bible. And she said, could we get her a Bible? And so we did, and she handed it to the person, and I asked, well, what was her reaction, because, we wrote it in the deed diary, we got so-and-so a Bible. And she said, well, she, thought that was really cool, but the cool reaction was that the people around her were asking about, well, what is this? And can you get me one too, type of thing. And so before we knew it, we were giving out all these Bibles.
Wow.
And the most powerful part, though, that really got me was one morning when we were driving to school, she handed up this little piece of paper. I still have it. It's ripped. It's just a, ratty old piece of paper. And it said, I asked her what it was. And she said, well, I was wondering if you could make like 6 or 7 copies of that for me. And I was like, well, sure. What is it? And she said, well, these kids that I'm giving the Bibles to, we're going to meet on recess under the big tree, and I'm going to teach them how to find things in the Bible. So like they may have heard of Noah's Ark before, or they may have heard of Christmas and that's the birth of Jesus. And so I found, I wrote down for them where to find those things in the Bible. I'm going to teach them how to look things up, but I want to heard of. And I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, she was like 8 or 9 at the time. And so when you have experiences like that come from just trying to get them to shine God's light, or when you get, just the fact that she cared that they didn't know Jesus and that they needed him, that is just awesome.
Right. It's just so amazing. I can feel your mama's heart there, just being so like, yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. And then the ripple effect of this is now 8 years later, whatever, is that you have this book that's coming out to help others understand how a simple act can really change a lot. So maybe tell us about that.
Sure. Well, it started out, I just wrote this little story about it because it was such a powerful experience for our family. I just wanted to share it. I always have loved Maya Angelou's quote, when you get, give, and when you learn, teach. Well, I was given this gift of this idea, and I wanted to share it with others. So I actually sent it to Chicken Soup for the Soul, and they published it as a little short story about our day-to-day experiment that we did. And then lo and behold, they ended up putting it in another book that was Raising Your Kids with Good Values. And then I actually was contacted by Amy Newmark, the editor for Chicken Soup for the Soul. And she said, I'm compiling my 100 favorite stories, and I'm wondering if I can add yours to it. And I even got to go to Chicago and have dinner with her. It was amazing. But so that's where it kind of started. And then in the back of the Chicken Soup books, they have a spot where you have your bio and your contact information. I've had people from countries I didn't even know were countries that have contacted me to say they bought the notebook and that they're doing a D-to-Day now. And so to know that someone on the other side of the country, I share this at author visits about the power of writing. So when you have something and you have that story that you feel like you need to share, it can have a powerful impact. So what ended up happening after the Chicken Soup for the Soul is I had an editor at a Christian writing conference that I attended. I had an editor say that she would love to see me form it into like a book of its own, because as you know, a chicken soup story, you're one story out of 100. And so I took on the challenge and I wrote this book. Well, by the time I finished, the turnover rate in publishing houses can be pretty high. By the time I finished writing it, she was gone. But, God had plans for this to happen. And so my agent ended up contacting me months ago and said, there is a Christian publisher that wants your story. And I'm like, you're kidding. Oh my goodness. And so I only have, it's not out yet. So all I have to show you is the cover reveal. But I absolutely love the cover, and I love that I was pretty transparent. I pretty much laid it all out there, about our family and our faith journey, and how, in the beginning it wasn't that strong, and how our faith has grown, and how we have learned the many lessons in the Bible about being kind and how powerful that can be.
Oh, well, I love it. I'm excited for the book to come out, and I know you've got some big media coming up too, and excited about that. Delighted to have you as one of our featured speakers over at christianwomenspeakers.com or womenspeakers.com, and you guys can find her there in Indiana. Otherwise, your own website is shannoниsteaching.com. You guys can learn more about that and about her book coming up there. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. God bless. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much, Marnie.
Thanks. And you guys, thanks for joining us. Can't have a show without people watching. So we just love it when you watch and when you share. And we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.